They called it a worthless dragon, until a human veterinarian stepped in. On the busy trade hub of Calith Prime, ships from every corner of the galaxy landed every day to buy, sell, and trade goods. The tall reptilian Zarvethi people ruled this place with strict rules and proud traditions. They bred huge creatures called void drakes for hard work in dangerous gas giants. These dragons had strong bodies, thick scales, and special vents that let them breathe plasma and move heavy mining gear. One morning, a large clutch of void drake eggs hatched inside a guarded breeding hall. The guild assessors came with their scanning tools and sharp eyes. They checked each newborn dragon carefully. Most of the hatchlings were perfect. They had shiny black or deep red scales, wide wings, and loud, healthy roars. The assessors marked them with glowing symbols that meant high value and future sales. Then they reached the last one. This hatchling was small and pale. Its scales looked dull gray instead of bright. The wings hung wrong with thin, torn membranes. The breathing sac on its chest puffed weakly and made wet noises. The assessors shook their heads and spoke in low hisses. Structural defect, they said. Metabolic failure, worthless. The guild rules were clear. Creatures like this had no place in the proud Zarvethi Warmount bloodline. In the old days, such runts were put to sleep fast, or dropped into the black void between stars. The clutchmaster this time was a high noble named Varkas. He looked at the tiny dragon with cold yellow eyes and made a different choice. He did not want to waste the killing tools on something so small. Instead, he decided to use it for fun. He ordered his workers to crate the runt and send it to the new interspecies veterinary outpost run by the soft human visitors. He wrote a short message on the crate. "Fix your own broken toys, soft skins." Then he laughed loud and sharp. The crate arrived at the human vet station during the quiet night shift. Was a small metal building attached to the edge of the main docking ring. Lights glowed soft blue inside. Dr. Elena Voss worked alone at that hour. She was a 38-year-old veterinarian from Earth. She had short dark hair, tired green eyes, and steady hands. She came to Calith Prime because she wanted to help strange alien animals that no one else cared about. A Zarvethi worker pushed the heavy crate through the door and left without a word. Elena opened the locks and lifted the lid. Inside lay the little void drake, curled tight and shaking. Mucus dripped from its nostrils. Its eyes were half closed and cloudy with pain. The dragon tried to lift its head, but fell back with a small, weak whimper. Elena felt her chest tighten. She had seen sick animals before on Earth. Cats with broken legs, dogs with poisoned stomachs, birds shot by hunters. But this creature was different. It came from a proud species that saw weakness as shame. She knelt beside the crate and spoke in a calm, quiet voice. "Hey there, little one. You are safe now." The dragon flinched at first. Then it turned one cloudy eye toward her and stared. Elena reached in slow and careful. She touched the rough scales on its neck. The skin felt hot and dry. She checked the breathing. It came in short, painful gasps. She listened to the heart. It beat too fast and skipped sometimes. She pulled out her scanner and ran it over the small body. The screen showed bad news. Twisted lung passages, scarred gill slits, fused heart sac. The alien doctors had already looked and called it hopeless. They said even their best machines could not fix this. Elena closed her eyes for a second. Then she opened them again and made her choice. She named the dragon Ash because its scales reminded her of cooled embers from a fire. She carried Ash to the treatment room on a soft blanket. She set up lights and monitors. She filled a small tank with warm, oxygenated fluid that matched the dragon's natural blood chemistry. She lowered Ash into the tank so breathing would hurt less. Ash thrashed once, then settled when Elena hummed a low tune. She kept one hand on the dragon's side the whole time. She talked softly about Earth, about green forests, about rivers, about how every creature deserved a chance. Ash listened. The cloudy eyes cleared a little. The weak whimpers became slower breaths. Hours passed. Elena did not sleep. She adjusted tubes, mixed medicines, cleaned wounds. She found old human vet books on her tablet and cross-checked them with Zarvethi biology notes. She learned that void drakes usually hated touch, but Ash leaned into her hand when she stroked the brow ridge. Fast on Calith Prime. Workers whispered in the halls. Traders repeated the story in bars. Zarvethi nobles heard and came to look. They stood outside the glass wall of the treatment room and pointed at the small pale dragon in the tank. They laughed and said, "The soft skin tries to save trash. Let her play doctor. It'll die soon anyway." Elena ignored them. She kept working. She fed Ash tiny drops of nutrient mix through a tube. She played recordings of deep space whale songs because the low rumbles sounded close to void drake herd calls. When she did that, Ash stopped shaking and closed its eyes in something that looked like calm. Days turned into a week. Elena lost track of time. She ate quick meals at her desk. She slept in short naps on the floor beside the tank. She talked to Ash every minute she could. She told stories about brave dogs that pulled sleds through snow, about cats that survived alone for years, about birds that flew across oceans with broken wings. She said, "You are not worthless. You are just different, and different can be strong in its own way." Ash grew a tiny bit stronger. The breathing sounded less wet. The heart skipped less often. One night, when the station lights dimmed for rest cycle, Ash lifted its head all the way up. It looked straight at Elena and made a soft rumbling sound. Not a roar, not a growl, just a quiet hello. Elena smiled wide for the first time in days. She whispered back, "Hello, Ash. We have a long road ahead, but we walk it together." Outside, the Zarvethi still laughed. They called it a worthless dragon. They said the human was foolish. They said the runt would die before the next trade cycle ended. But inside the small vet room, something new was starting. A bond was growing. A pale gray dragon that nobody wanted began to trust a human who refused to give up. And trust like that can change many things. Elena knew the fight was just beginning. She cleaned her hands, checked the monitors, and sat down beside the tank, looked at Ash, and said, "We are not done yet. Not even close." Word count 1,200. They called it a worthless dragon until a human veterinarian stepped in. Elena Voss kept working without rest. The first 3 days blurred into one long stretch of lights, beeping monitors, glowing, and the soft, wet sound of Ash breathing through tubes. She set alarms on her wristcom, but ignored them when they rang. She drank strong coffee from a battered mug and ate protein bars while standing at the exam table. The scans told a hard story. The main lungs twisted inside the chest like knotted ropes. The gill slits that should pull oxygen from thin air showed thick scars from an infection that started before the egg hatched. The heart sac had grown wrong and pressed on the beating muscle, so every pulse fought against tight walls. Alien vets from the Zarvethi Guild had looked once, scanned twice, then written terminal on the file. They said nature picked the strong and culled the weak. That was their way. Elena refused to follow that way. She saw the fear in Ash's eyes. The small dragon flinched at loud voices, the way it tried to curl tighter when strangers came near. This was not just a broken machine. This was a living thing that felt pain and wanted comfort. She decided to fight for every extra hour. She built a special tank from spare parts in the storage room. The station had old perfluorocarbon fluid left from human dive training. She mixed it with local oxygen carriers until it matched Ash's blood. She lowered the dragon into the warm liquid so the twisted lungs did not have to work so hard against gravity. Ash floated calm for the first time. The cloudy eyes opened wider and looked straight at her. Elena started medicines next. She took human reptile drugs from her kit and changed them with enzymes she bought from the black market traders. She made anti-scar medicine to loosen the gill slits. She made fluid reducers to ease the heart pressure. She injected small doses every 4 hours and watched the numbers on the screen. She cheered when the calling's heart rate dropped from frantic to steady. Physical therapy came after that. She supported Ash's body with padded slings. She moved the wings slow and gentle to stop the membranes from stiffening. She massaged the chest to help fluid move. She did this twice a day, even when her own arms ached. The dragon learned fast. After a few sessions, Ash lifted a wing when she touched the right spot. It was small progress, but it felt huge. The other vets at the outpost watched her work. They were a mix of species. One insectoid from the hive worlds clicked mandibles in disbelief. Another furred medic from the outer rings shook her head and said, "You treat it like a pet mammal. It is a tool species bred for labor." Elena answered, quiet but firm, "I treat it like a patient who trusts me. That is enough." Words spread through the trade halls. Traders told stories in loud voices. Zarvethi workers gathered at the glass wall of the treatment room. They pointed and hissed, "The soft skin wastes time on trash. Runt will die and stink up her room." They bet credits on how many days it would last. Elena heard them but kept her focus on Ash. She played sounds to calm the dragon. Deep whale songs from Earth oceans filled the room. The low rumbles matched the herd calls void drakes used in the wild. Ash stopped thrashing when the music started. The small body relaxed against the tank wall. Elena smiled and whispered, "Good listening. You like that one?" She talked to Ash all the time. She told stories about earth dogs that herded sheep across mountains, about cats that climbed trees with broken legs, about parrots that learned human words. She said, "You are not alone in this. I have seen fighters smaller than you win big battles." Ash rumbled back soft and low. It sounded like an answer. One afternoon, a high Zarvethi noble came to see the joke for himself. Lord Thalor stood tall with polished scales and gold chains. He looked through the glass at the pale dragon floating in fluid. Loud. "This is what the humans call medicine." Pathetic. The clutch master was right to throw it away. Elena stood up straight and met his yellow eyes. She said, "This dragon is alive because we do not throw away what can be saved." Lord Thalor leaned close to the glass. Ash turned its head and stared back. The noble hissed and stepped away fast. He muttered something about weak, soft skins and left. The other watchers laughed harder. They said, "See, even the runt knows fear." But Elena knew better. Ash had not flinched from the noble. The dragon had watched with steady eyes. That look held something new. Not fear, not anger, just quiet watchfulness. Night after night, Elena slept on the floor mat beside the tank. She woke every hour to check tubes, adjust heat, wipe mucus from nostrils. She lost weight. Her eyes sank deeper. But she never complained. She told Ash, "We keep going, one breath at a time, you and me." By the end of the first month, Ash had changed. The pale scales started to show faint. Silver edges. The breathing sounded less wet. The heart beat strong and even. The dragon grew a little bigger. Not much, but enough to notice. Elena measured with her hands and marked the growth on a chart. She smiled wide and said, "Look at you, getting tall." She took Ash out of the tank for short times now. She set the dragon on a low padded platform. She let it feel gravity again. Ash wobbled at first, but soon stood steady. The wings lifted a bit higher each day. Elena held small pieces of nutrient meat and waited. Ash sniffed, then took the food from her fingers. The rough tongue brushed her skin gentle for the first time. The vets stopped saying it would die. They started asking questions. How did you fix the torsion? How much fluid did you use? What sound calms it most? Elena answered honest. She shared notes. She showed scans. She said anyone can try if they care enough. More Zarvethi came to watch. Some laughed, some stared silent. One young assessor lingered after the others left. Watched Ash stretch a wing, then look at Elena with calm eyes. He shook his head slow and walked away without words. Elena kept working. She cleaned the room. She updated files. She planned the next surgery. She knew the lungs still needed help. The scars had to come out. The twist had to straighten. But she felt hope now. Real hope. Ash rumbled louder now. The sound filled the room like distant thunder. Elena answered with her own hum. They talked back and forth in their way. No one else understood, but they did. Outside, the nobles still called it worthless. They said the human played pretend doctor. They said the dragon would fail any day. They placed bigger bets on its death. Inside the treatment room, Elena sat beside Ash. She stroked the brow ridge and said, "We prove them wrong every single day. You are worth more than they know." Ash pressed its head against her arm. The touch felt warm and sure. Elena closed her eyes and let the moment last. She knew the road stayed long, but now they walked it together, and that was enough. Word count 1,200. They called it a worthless dragon, until a human veterinarian stepped in. 3 months passed since the crate first arrived at the outpost. Ash should have been gone long ago. Every Zarvethi scanner had called the case hopeless. The twisted lungs, the scarred gills, the pressed heart, all pointed to one end. Yet the small pale dragon still breathed, still ate, still grew. Elena kept pushing forward. She performed the first real surgery herself, using a borrowed dental laser from the station clinic. The beam cut precise and clean. She opened the chest under heavy sedation, removed the worst scar tissue from the gill slits, and stitched synthetic patches made from biogel. She worked for 6 straight hours. Her hands shook only when she finished. Ash woke slow and groggy. The dragon lifted its head, looked at Elena, and rumbled deep in its throat. The sound carried no pain, just quiet thanks. Elena wiped sweat from her face and smiled. She checked the monitors. The oxygen levels held steady. The heart beat strong without skips. She whispered, "You did great, little one. Rest now." The dragon started to change fast. The pale scales darkened to silver gray along the edges. The body lengthened. The wings stretched wider. When Elena did her daily therapy sessions, she used low gravity in the rehab room so Ash could flak without falling. The membranes filled out. They caught air better each day. Elena measured progress every morning. She marked charts with steady hands and growing hope. Something deeper happened too. Ash began to listen and respond. When Elena said hold, the dragon froze in place. When she said breathe slow, Ash drew long, calm breaths. When she said wing up, the left wing lifted high, then the right followed soon after. The commands grew more complex. Elena tested sequences. Ash, hold, wing up, breathe, turn. The dragon followed every step without mistake. Elena studied old Zarvethi files she bought from a shady trader. The breeding logs showed harsh choices. They kept only the biggest, strongest, meanest hatchlings. They killed or sold any that showed soft traits, like quick bonding or gentle eyes. They wanted war mounts, not friends. Ash's defects came from genes long culled. Smaller size, lighter bones, thinner scales, slower growth. All those things the guild hated, but those same things let Ash think, feel, connect. Elena realized the truth. Void drakes had mirror neurons deep in their brains, circuits for empathy and trust. The Zarvethi crushed them with cruel training. Ash never got that training. The runt grew up ignored and scared. That fear let the old traits survive. Now those traits bloomed under kindness. One busy afternoon, a visiting Zarvethi lord came to the outpost. Lord Cress carried more gold chains than Lord Thalor. He walked straight to the treatment room glass and stared inside. Ash now stood as tall as a large horse. The silver scales caught the light like polished metal. The wings folded neat against the back. Lord Cress laughed loud. This trash still lives. The soft skin must use dark tricks. He banged on the glass and shouted, "Come here, runt! Show me your worth!" Ash turned its head slow. The yellow eyes locked on the noble. Elena stood beside the dragon and placed a hand on its neck. She spoke calm. "Easy, Ash. He is just loud." Lord Cress grew angry. He demanded the dragon be handed over for proper disposal. "The guild claims all void drakes," he said. "This one belongs to us." Elena shook her head. "No, Ash belongs to no one but himself." The Lord stepped closer to the door. He reached for the lock. Elena moved fast. She stood between him and the panel. Ash reacted faster. The dragon surged forward. It placed its body between Elena and the noble. A deep protective growl rolled out, louder than any sound the outpost had heard from a juvenile. The wings half opened. The vents along the neck glowed faint blue. Plasma heat shimmered in the air. Lord Cress froze. His yellow eyes widened. He took one step back, then another, but stayed steady. Ash never blinked. The dragon held position until the Lord backed all the way to the hall door. Then Ash turned its head, nuzzled Elena's shoulder, gentle and sure. The noble stammered words that made no sense. He spun and left fast. His chains rattled behind him. The watchers outside the glass went silent. No one laughed this time. They stared with open mouths. Some whispered in low tones. Others walked away quick. Elena knelt beside Ash. She stroked the brow ridge and said, "Thank you. You protected me." The dragon rumbled soft and pressed its head against her chest. The touch felt warm, solid, real. Elena felt tears sting her eyes, but she blinked them back. She said, "We are a team now. No one splits us." Word of the standoff spread like fire through Calith Prime. Traders told the story in every bar. Workers repeated it on every dock. Zarvethi nobles gathered in private rooms. They argued loud. Some said the runt showed defect. Some said it showed power. Changed the dragon in ways no one understood. Elena ignored the gossip. She focused on Ash. She started short flights in the low-gravity chamber. Ash lifted off the floor, hovered for seconds, then landed soft. Each try lasted longer. Elena clapped every time. Ash rumbled proud in reply. The bond grew stronger. Every day it showed in small ways. Ash followed Elena without command. Ash ate better when she fed. Ash slept calm, only when her scent stayed close. One quiet night, Elena sat on the floor with data pads around her. She planned the final surgery, the big one to fix the lung twist forever. She needed better tools. She needed a sterile room. She needed time. But she felt ready. She looked at Ash, curled on the padded mat. The dragon breathed slow and even. Silver scales rose and fell like gentle waves. Elena whispered, "Soon we fix the last piece. Then you fly free." Ash opened one eye. It looked at her long and steady. Then the dragon shifted closer, until its head rested in her lap. Both hands on the warm scales, she hummed the old whale song, low and slow. Ash closed the eye again and rumbled along. The sound matched her hum, perfect. Outside the station, lights dimmed for rest cycle. The trade hub slowed its endless noise. But inside the treatment room, hope burned bright. A dragon once called worthless, now guarded its human with fierce loyalty. A human once called foolish, now held proof that kindness could rewrite old rules. Elena knew trouble waited. The guild would not stay quiet after the standoff. They would come again with demands and threats. But she felt no fear. She had Ash, and Ash had her. Together they stood stronger than any noble or guild master. She closed her eyes for a moment. She rested her head against Ash's neck. She said, "Whatever comes next, we face it side by side. You are not worthless. You never were." Ash answered with a soft, deep rumble that filled the room like a promise. The sound carried strength, trust, and something new. Felt like love. P. Word count 1,200. P. They called it a worthless dragon, until a human veterinarian stepped in. After the standoff with Lord Cress, the guild grew restless. They sent messages through official channels, demanding Ash's return. They called the dragon stolen property. They threatened to cut supplies to the human outpost. Elena read each message, calm and steady. She answered none of them. She knew words would not stop them. She made her plan in secret. She contacted a freighter captain she trusted, a quiet human from the Rim Worlds who owed her a favor from a sick pet rescue years ago. The captain agreed to smuggle them out during the next supply run. Elena packed light. She took medical kits, data pads, Ash's favorite nutrient packs, and one small blanket that smelled like home to the dragon. The night of the run arrived. The station hummed with normal activity. Docks filled with cargo loaders, traders shouted orders, workers moved crates. Elena led Ash down a side corridor on a reinforced leash. Clothes low to the ground, wings folded tight. Elena whispered, "Stay quiet. We go together." Ash rumbled soft in reply. They reached the cargo bay. The freighter waited with open ramp. Elena gave the signal. The captain lowered a sling lift. Ash stepped inside without fear. Elena climbed in beside. The lift rose slow. They entered the hold. The doors closed behind them. The engines hummed to life. The ship pulled away from Calith Prime, smooth and silent. Elena exhaled long. She sat on the floor and pulled Ash close. The dragon rested its head in her lap. The silver scales felt warm under her hands. She said, "We made it. We are free now." Ash answered with a deep, contented rumble that vibrated through her bones. They landed on a quiet research moon called Ilara 4. The place had thin air, low gravity, and wide-open domes built for science. Elena rented one small dome far from the main labs. She set up a treatment room, a flight space, and a rest area. She bought better equipment with savings, donations from other human vets who heard the story. The final surgery waited no longer. Elena prepared for days. She grew stem cells from Ash's own tissue. She printed scaffolds to rebuild the twisted lung passages. She tested every tool twice. She explained each step to Ash as if the dragon could understand every word. Ash listened, head tilted, eyes steady. The day came. Elena sedated Ash gentle. She moved the dragon to the sterile table. She worked with focus and care. She cut precise. She removed the last bad tissue. She placed the new scaffolds. She sealed with biogel. She closed the chest with fine stitches. Hours passed. Elena did not stop until the monitors showed perfect readings. When Ash woke, the dragon blinked slow. Elena knelt close. She spoke soft. "Welcome back. You did amazing." Ash lifted its head. The breathing came deep and clear. No wheeze, no gasp. The lungs worked right for the first time. The heart beat even and strong. Ash tested the air with a long inhale. Stood. Elena opened the dome doors to the outside chamber. The moon had low gravity and a thin, safe atmosphere. Ash stepped out, wings spread wide. The silver membranes caught the weak sunlight and shimmered with faint plasma veins. The dragon crouched low, then launched upward. Ash rose smooth and sure. Higher and higher. The body twisted in a graceful arc. Wings beat strong. The vents glowed blue, sending small bursts of controlled plasma for lift. Elena watched from below. Her heart pounded fast. Ash circled the dome once, twice, then dove back down. The dragon landed light beside her. Dust swirled, gentle. Ash lowered its massive head and pressed the brow ridge against Elena's chest. The old Zarvethi gesture of lifelong loyalty, never given to an outsider, never given to a soft skin, until now. Elena wrapped her arms around the thick neck. She buried her face in the warm scales. She whispered, "You are beautiful. You are perfect." Ash rumbled deep. The sound wrapped around her like a promise. Word reached Calith Prime fast. Traders carried the news. Nobles argued in their halls. The guildmasters called emergency meetings. They demanded Ash's return. They said the dragon belonged to the bloodline. They sent a drone armed with tranquilizer darts. The small machine flew toward the dome fast. Ash sensed it first. The dragon lifted its head, vents flared. Elena stepped back. Ash launched upward. Wings snapped open. The drone hovered close. Ash twisted midair. A precise burst of plasma shot from the neck vents. The bolt hit the drone clean. The machine sparked and fell smoking to the ground. Ash landed beside Elena unharmed. The dragon stood guard, wings half spread, eyes locked on the sky. Elena checked the wreckage. She found the guild mark. She shook her head and said, "They never learn." Ash rumbled agreement, low and fierce. The guild had no choice. They sent envoys this time, real ones with polite words. They arrived at Alara 4, in a sleek shuttle. Main dome. Ash stood beside her tall and calm. The lead envoy bowed stiff. He said, "The guild wishes to negotiate. We offer compensation for the investment in care." Elena crossed her arms. She said, "Ash is not for sale. Ash is not property. Ash chooses." The envoy looked at the dragon. Ash met his gaze steady. The envoy swallowed hard. He said, "Then perhaps a partnership. The guild admits new understanding. Void drakes with these traits show greater value when raised with trust." Elena nodded slow. She said, "Show us real change. First stop culling runts. Then we talk." The envoys left with no deal, but with new respect. They carried back recordings of Ash's flight of the plasma, precision of the loyalty shown. They showed the guildmasters proof that kindness bred strength, not weakness. Elena and Ash stayed on the moon. They took rescue calls now. Other runts arrived in secret crates. Pale ones, small ones, scarred ones. Elena treated them all. Ash helped. He calmed the new ones with low rumbles. Them how to trust. He flew beside them in therapy sessions. His presence gave them hope. Elena trained other vets. She shared her methods. She wrote papers. She spoke at small conferences. Word spread wider. Humans opened more outposts. They welcomed the discarded dragons. They raised them with care. The dragons grew loyal, smart, strong in ways the guild never saw before. Ash grew bigger, magnificent. The silver body gleamed. The wings spanned wide. The plasma vents could shield or strike with perfect control. Yet Ash never used force unless needed. The dragon guarded Elena on every mission, shielded refugee ships from debris, calmed panicked survivors with gentle rumbles, protected the weak with fierce heart. One evening, Elena sat outside the dome, watching stars. Ash lay beside her head on her lap. She stroked the scales slow. She said, "You changed everything. You showed them what worth really means." Ash rumbled soft. The sound carried across the quiet moon like a song. Elena smiled. She looked up at the sky. She said, "We are just getting started. Together we fly higher than they ever dreamed." Ash lifted its head. The dragon nuzzled her shoulder, gentle, sure. The bond held strong, unbreakable, built on trust, built on care, built on refusing to call anything worthless. Word count, 1,200. They called it a worthless dragon, until a human veterinarian stepped in. Within 1 year the story of Ash spread across the galactic rim like wildfire. Traders carried it from station to station. Miners whispered it in deep tunnels. Diplomats mentioned it in quiet talks. Pilots told it during long hauls. The tale grew simple and clear. A dragon born weak got called worthless. The Zarvethi threw it away. A human vet refused to let it die. She healed it. She loved it. The dragon grew strong. It chose her. It guarded her. It flew higher than any war mount ever did. Elena Voss became known everywhere. People called her the Dragon Mother. Some said it with respect. Others said it with wonder. A few still said it with doubt, but no one ignored her name anymore. She founded the first interspecies bonding sanctuary on Alara 4. The place started small. 1 dome grew to 3, then 5, then 10. Vets came from Earth and other human worlds. They learned her methods. They studied cross-species ethology. They practiced trauma care. They learned how to read dragon rumbles, wing twitches, and eye shifts. Runts arrived in secret crates. Pale ones, small ones, scarred ones, ones with wrong colors or bent wings. Elena and her team took them all. They healed them, they fed them, they talked to them. They played the deep sounds that calmed old instincts. Ash helped every step. The big silver dragon moved among the new arrivals with slow, careful steps. Ash never rushed. Ash never growled loud. Ash lowered its head and rumbled soft. The sound wrapped around scared hatchlings like a blanket. The little ones stopped shaking. They ate from hands. They lifted wings when asked. They learned trust fast, because Ash showed them it was safe. Elena trained the dragons for real work. Not war, not mining, not heavy hauling. She taught them search and rescue. She taught them shield work. She taught them calm. She showed them how to use plasma vents to push debris from wrecked ships, freezing survivors with controlled heat. She showed them how to carry injured in slings without fear. Ash flew lead on every mission. The silver body cut through vacuum like a blade. The wings caught every current. The vents flared just right to protect the team. One mission stood out clear. A transport ship broke apart near a neutron star. Radiation leaked. Engines died. Crew screamed for help. Elena got the call. She loaded Ash and 2 young dragons onto the fast shuttle. They jumped in system. They found the wreck spinning slow. Pieces floated everywhere. Crew pods drifted dark. Elena sent Ash first. The big dragon twisted through the debris. Plasma bursts cleared paths. The vents glowed steady. Ash reached the main hull. Ash pressed against a breached section. Ash sent heat through the hull to warm the freezing air inside. Survivors felt it. They looked up through viewports. They saw silver scales and calm yellow eyes. They stopped panicking. The young dragons followed. They carried slings, pulled people free. They flew them to the shuttle. Elena worked triage. She bandaged, she injected, she talked calm. Every survivor lived. Everyone thanked the dragons first. Then they thanked Elena. They said, "We thought we would die. Then we saw the silver one. We knew help came real." Back on Alara 4, the guild could not stay blind. The nobles watched reports. They saw runts become heroes. They saw dragons bond deep. They saw humans succeed where Zarvethi failed. The old breeding masters argued loud. Some wanted war. Some wanted change. The change side grew stronger. They admitted facts. Kindness bred loyalty. Loyalty bred skill. Skill beat raw power every time. The guild sent a full delegation this time. High masters in formal robes. They landed on the moon. They walked to the main dome. Elena met them outside. Ash stood beside her, tall and proud. The masters bowed low. They said, "We come to learn. We come to reform. We stop culling runts. We open our halls to your methods. We ask partnership." Looked at them long. She said, "Show us first. Change your laws. Change your ways. Then we share what we know." The masters agreed. They signed papers. They sent orders home. The breeding halls changed fast. No more quick deaths for small ones. No more shame for soft traits. Trainers learned gentle voices. They learned patience. They learned trust. The first new clutches grew different. They showed mirror neurons. They bonded early. They flew with joy, not fear. Elena kept working. She never stopped. She treated more dragons. She trained more vets. She wrote more notes. She spoke at bigger gatherings. Humans built sanctuaries on other worlds. They welcomed the discarded. They raised them right. The dragons became companions, guardians, protectors, friends. Ash stayed biggest and brightest. The silver body shone under any light. The wings spanned wider than most ships. The plasma vents could light a dark moon or shield a fleet. Yet Ash used power soft. Ash guarded Elena on every trip. Dome every night. Ash rumbled stories only she understood. One quiet evening, Elena sat on a bench outside the main dome. Stars filled the black sky. Ash lay close, head on her lap. She stroked the brow ridge slow. She said, "Look what we built. You started it all with one small breath. You proved worth comes from inside, not from scales or size." Ash rumbled deep. The sound rolled across the moon, soft and strong. Elena looked up. She watched a young dragon practice loops in low gravity. The silver sheen caught starlight. She smiled wide. She said, "They still whisper worthless in dark rooms on Calith Prime. They say it when no human hears. But they never say it to our face. They never say it near a dragon who knows better." Ash lifted its head. The dragon nuzzled her shoulder, gentle. The touch carried years of trust. Elena wrapped her arms around the thick neck. She closed her eyes. She felt the steady heartbeat. She felt the warm scales. She felt the bond that time could never break. Galaxy changed, slow but sure. More dragons flew free. More runts found homes. More nobles learned humility. More humans proved stubborn care could move stars. The old ways faded. The new ways grew. The story lived on. They called it a worthless dragon once. They laughed at the human who stepped in. They bet on quick death. They lost every bet. Now when hatchlings struggle in eggs, when small ones emerge pale and weak, the breeders pause. They remember Ash. They remember Elena. They remember the choice to care. They choose life. They choose trust. They choose hope. And somewhere on a quiet moon, a silver dragon guards its human. The dragon bows its head only to the one who first believed it could fly. The human strokes the scales and whispers, "We fly together, always." The stars listen. The stars remember. And the galaxy grows a little kinder because one vet refused to give up on one small dragon.